The Veterans Fundraiser Hall glowed under warm amber lights, filled with polished uniforms, glittering medals, and the soft hum of wealthy donors mingling over champagne. A brass band played quietly in the corner, patriotic and elegant. Banners honoring decades of naval service hung from the ceiling, each one pristine, spotless, perfect. Then the doors at the back opened, and an old man stepped inside. His coat was faded, his boots worn thin, his gray beard uneven. He moved slowly, almost painfully, with a cane that looked older than half the people in the room. At first, no one paid attention. But when he walked past the check-in table without stopping, 2 young security guards reacted fast. "Sir, excuse me, this is a private event," one snapped. The old man didn't argue. He simply looked around the hall, eyes scanning every banner, every display case, every uniform. Something in his gaze wasn't confusion, it was recognition. Guests started whispering. "Who let him in? He's not a donor. Homeless, probably. This is embarrassing. Someone remove him." A young, overly confident security guard stepped forward, grabbing the old man by the arm. "You can't be here. Let's go." The old man didn't resist. He just looked at the boy's grip, then met his eyes with a tired, weathered calm, the kind that comes from surviving things most people only read about in books. As they began dragging him toward the exit, a few donors chuckled. One woman shook her head in disgust. Another man raised his phone, amused. But not everyone laughed. A retired Marine sitting near the stage watched closely, frowning. Something about the old man's posture, his presence, the quiet discipline in the way he carried himself. It didn't fit the image of a helpless intruder. The Marine leaned forward. "Careful with him," he muttered under his breath. But the guards didn't hear. The old man glanced again at the hall, at a framed photo of a naval task force, and his expression shifted almost imperceptibly. Not nostalgia. Not fear. Recognition. As the guards pushed him out the doors, the music faltered. A hush spread. Something about this man wasn't ordinary. Something was wrong. Outside the fundraiser hall, the cold evening wind cut sharply across the old man's face as the guards pushed him toward the parking lot. The cheerful noise of the event dulled behind the closed doors, replaced by the embarrassed snickers of the 2 young guards escorting him out. "Unbelievable," one said. "These fundraisers are for real veterans. Not people pretending to be one." The old man didn't respond. He simply stood still, breathing steadily, his eyes fixed on the illuminated banners inside the hall through the glass doors, banners he had seen before in a very different lifetime. Inside, the tension grew. Several donors gathered near the entrance, whispering rapidly. Did he try to scam someone? He looked like he wandered in from the street. I heard he pushed past the check-in table. A young donor in a sharp suit smirked. Honestly, they should have kicked him out sooner. Bad look for the event. But not everyone agreed. The retired Marine from earlier walked toward the door, concerned. Something about the old man gnawed at him. Meanwhile, the security guards outside decided to push the situation further. "Sir, you need to leave the parking area," one said sharply. "This is a restricted venue tonight." The old man's eyes narrowed slightly, not in anger but in memory. He recognized the logo on the guard's sleeve. He recognized the building layout. He recognized the event theme. This wasn't just any fundraiser. He had helped build the legacy it was celebrating. As he silently took a step back, the younger guard scoffed loudly. "Look at him, doesn't even know where he is." But the Marine inside the hall finally acted. He approached the coordinator's table. "Did anyone check the guest list?" he asked. "Oh, please," the coordinator replied. "If he were important, we would know." He didn't look like he belonged here. The Marine's frown deepened. Some men who belong don't look the part anymore. Another airman overheard and froze slightly. I think I saw him looking at the Task Force Valor photo." He recognized it. "Coincidence?" someone muttered. But the unease spread. Small signs. Small hints. A quiet weight in the air. As the old man stood outside under the harsh floodlights, his gaze fell on a metal plaque near the entrance. A plaque listing names of service members lost during a classified naval operation. His expression changed. For the first time, a spark of pain and recognition. Suspense tightened like a noose. This wasn't a mistake. This was a disaster waiting to unfold. The cold floodlights outside the fundraiser flickered softly, illuminating the old man's weathered face. His eyes stayed fixed on the memorial plaque, a simple metal plate engraved with names the world had forgotten, but he could never erase. And suddenly, the present dissolved. The sound of wind became the roar of the ocean. The chatter of donors became the thundering pulse of engines. The fundraiser hall vanished, replaced by the steel corridors of a naval carrier slicing through black waters under a starless sky. Flashback years earlier. Young sailors hurried down narrow passageways, alarms blaring. The ship rocked violently as waves crashed against its hull. In the dim red emergency lights stood a younger version of the old man, tall, sharp-eyed, steady. His uniform bore the insignia. Commander Jonathan Hale. Call sign, Iron Hand. Sir, the convoy is trapped, a sailor shouted. Enemy fast boats closing in from both sides. Commander Hale didn't hesitate. He strode onto the command deck, voice calm, crisp, unwavering. Bring the fleet into defensive formation. Cut all external lights. I want every radar sweep doubled. His tone held no fear, only precision. Outside, lightning tore the sky open, revealing silhouettes of enemy craft speeding through the storm. Sir, we're outnumbered, an officer cried. We've been outnumbered before, Hale replied. The next minutes were chaos. Missiles launched, steel collided with waves, explosions echoed across the night. But Hale didn't flinch. He directed every movement, every counterstrike, every maneuver like a man conducting an orchestra. At one point, a young sailor panicked. We're not going to make it. Hale placed a firm hand on his shoulder. Son, as long as I'm standing, you are. The sailor steadied. The crew rallied. Through brilliant strategy and fearless resolve, Hale led the convoy out of a trap that should have annihilated them. His decisions saved hundreds of lives, sailors who later grew into officers, commanders, and admirals. But victory came with a cost. During the final blast, Hale was thrown against bulkhead steel, shattering his leg and damaging nerves. The injury ended his active command unexpectedly early. He never complained, never sought attention. He simply healed, retired quietly, and disappeared from the public eye. Back to present. The flashback faded. The old man blinked, breath trembling slightly. His limp, his worn boots, his quiet manner, all pieces of a life heavy with sacrifice. But the world inside the fundraiser hall didn't see him that way. Not yet. One of the guards nudged him again. Come on, old man. Move. The old man didn't react. He was still staring at that plaque, at the names of the men he saved, and the ones he couldn't. Inside the hall, the Marine stepped closer to the door, unease sharpening in his gut. He whispered to himself. Who are you? He was about to find out. Inside the fundraiser hall, the atmosphere shifted. The cheerful music no longer matched the tension building among the guests. The Marine who had been watching everything pushed through the crowd, eyes narrowed, trying to get a clearer look at the old man outside. One of the junior airmen hurried over to the event coordinator, holding a folded brochure. Ma'am, someone left this at the historical display. It's about Task Force Valor. The coordinator barely glanced. And? The airman swallowed. There's a picture inside. Someone circled a name. Commander Jonathan Hale. The Marine's head snapped toward him. Let me see that. He opened the brochure. The circled name. The note scribbled beside it. Gone but not forgotten. I served with them. A chill crept up his spine. Meanwhile outside, the younger guard grew impatient. Sir, I'm asking you one last time, step away from the building. The old man didn't move. His eyes were locked onto another photograph through the window, a blown-up black and white image of a stormy night at sea. The same operation from his flashback. The Marine finally stepped outside. Hey, he called to the guards. Let him go for a minute. The guards shared an annoyed look. What? He doesn't belong here. The Marine ignored the attitude. He approached the old man slowly, studying the face beneath the graying beard, the posture even with the limp, the unmistakable calm of a man who'd made life-or-death decisions. Sir, the Marine said cautiously, that display inside, you recognized it, didn't you? The old man didn't answer. He simply nodded once. The Marine's stomach tightened. Inside the hall, a retired Navy officer overheard the conversation and pushed to the doorway, squinting at the old man in the floodlights. His jaw gradually dropped. No, that can't be. He pressed closer to the glass. The younger guard scoffed. You know this guy? But the officer's face had gone pale. I served under a man who looked exactly like him, 30 years ago. The Marine exhaled sharply. So it's not just me. A ripple of whispers ran through the people gathering near the entrance. Is he someone important? Why is everyone suddenly nervous? Should we stop the event? The officer finally stepped outside, breath shaking. Sir, he said to the old man, voice almost reverent. Please tell me your name. The old man lifted his head. A storm of memories flashed behind his eyes. Battles won, lives saved, brothers lost. He answered quietly. But whatever he said, it sent the officer stumbling back, eyes wide with shock. Inside, a donor dropped his champagne glass. The truth was breaking through. And the Admiral was already on his way. The officer who had recognized him stood frozen, staring at the old man as if he had seen a ghost. His lips trembled, eyes wide, breath shaky. It's impossible, he whispered. He was declared missing. We thought he was dead. Before anyone could speak, a sudden commotion stirred at the far end of the parking lot. Engines revving, doors slamming, radios crackling. Blue and white security lights flashed across the pavement. A black SUV rolled in fast, followed by 2 escort vehicles. Guests inside the hall pressed to the windows, confused. Who called security? Is someone in trouble? What's going on? The vehicle stopped sharply. Uniformed aides stepped out with crisp, urgent movements. Movements that said someone important had arrived. Then the rear door of the SUV opened, and an admiral stepped out. Full dress uniform. Metal-covered chest. Authority radiating from every inch of him. The Marine outside stiffened instinctively. That's Admiral Rutherford. Even the guards faltered. The Admiral scanned the scene, the crowd, the guards, the old man. His sharp gaze locked onto the cane, the limp, the weathered face. Something in his expression cracked. He started walking toward the old man. Not rushed. Not confused. Determined. The guards straightened. Sir, we had a trespasser. The Admiral didn't even glance at them. He stopped 3 feet from the old man. The air went cold. The parking lot fell silent. No one dared breathe. The Admiral's voice came out low, barely controlled. Commander, is that really you? The old man lifted his head. Their eyes met. Recognition slammed into the Admiral. His composure, legendary across the Navy, vanished. He took one shaky breath. And then he did something no one expected. He stepped back. His posture straightened. His hand rose, fingers together, elbow sharp. The Admiral saluted him. First, gasps erupted. A woman dropped her clutch. A donor covered his mouth. The guards went pale. The coordinator stumbled backward, horrified. The Marine snapped into a salute instinctively, eyes burning. The Admiral's voice cracked as he spoke. This man is not a trespasser. This man is Commander Jonathan Iron Hand Hale, one of the finest officers this Navy has ever produced. The crowd froze. Shame. Fear. Respect. Every emotion crashed together as reality hit. They hadn't dragged out a nobody. They had humiliated a hero. A heavy silence settled over the fundraiser parking lot, the kind that presses on the chest and steals the air from your lungs. The Admiral's salute hung in the cold night air, unmoving, unwavering, undeniable. The old man, Commander Jonathan Hale, slowly returned the salute. Not out of pride, not out of habit, but out of respect, for a Navy that had forgotten him, yet still lived in his bones. The Admiral stepped closer, his voice tight with emotion. Commander Hale, sir, we thought you were gone. The old man's reply was quiet, almost apologetic. Just stepped away from the world a while. Behind them, donors, staff, and guards formed a wide circle, frozen in shame. A few lowered their heads. Some couldn't bear to look at him. The Marine finally spoke, voice hoarse. Sir, why didn't you tell anyone who you were? The old man gave a faint, tired smile. Men I served with didn't fight for titles. We fought so others could live well enough to forget our names. The words cut deeper than any reprimand ever could. The Admiral turned sharply to the 2 young guards. You dragged him out? Did you even ask for his name? Both stammered, faces flushed red. We thought he... Thought? The Admiral snapped. You don't think. You check. You verify. And you respect every man who walks into a veteran's hall, whether he wears a tuxedo or tattered boots. The coordinator stepped forward trembling. Admiral, please, we didn't know. That's the problem, he said. You didn't want to know. A donor who had mocked the old man earlier slowly stepped back into the shadows, unable to face him. A woman who had laughed now wiped her eyes, regret hitting her like a wave. The Admiral turned back to Hale. We owe you far more than this disgrace, sir. You saved lives, including mine. Gasps spread through the crowd. The Admiral continued, voice breaking. I was a junior officer during Operation Night Haven. My ship would have gone down if not for your orders. I'm standing here tonight because of you. Commander Hale blinked slowly as if pulling that memory from somewhere deep and painful. Good men died that night, he murmured. I just did my duty. The Admiral drew a breath. One day the Navy will carve your story into stone, but tonight. He lowered his head. Tonight we will remember it. The crowd stood in somber silence. No applause. No staged reverence. Real respect, raw, unfiltered, overdue. The guard stepped aside, no longer blocking him. The donors cleared a path. For the first time that night, everyone saw him for who he truly was. Not a homeless intruder. Not a tired old man. A warrior who had carried the weight of a nation. The fundraiser hall, once buzzing with shallow chatter and clinking glasses, had gone almost completely silent. People stood along the entrance path, forming an unspoken corridor of respect as Commander Jonathan Hale slowly stepped forward. No one touched him. No one hurried him. No one dared speak. Only the sound of his cane tapping softly against the ground echoed through the crisp night air. The Admiral walked beside him, not leading the way, accompanying him like a junior officer walking with his superior. The Marine followed a few steps behind, posture straight, eyes fixed on the man who had just rewritten the room's understanding of honor. Inside the hall, the event coordinator quietly removed the velvet rope that blocked off the VIP donors-only section. For the first time, the symbolic barrier felt shameful. Meaningless. Hale paused near the memorial wall, staring at the photos he had once seen in a stormy flashback. The same faces. The same ship. The same night that had ended his career and shaped the Admiral's. A young airman approached hesitantly. Sir, I just want to say, thank you. Hale nodded gently. Live well. That's thanks enough. Another donor came forward, voice trembling. We misjudged you. Hale gave a tired exhale. Not angry. Not bitter. I've been misjudged before. Pain doesn't stay, but lessons do. He traced his fingers lightly across the plaque bearing the lost crew's names. His voice softened to a whisper. I didn't come here for recognition. I came to see them. The Admiral stepped closer. Commander, if you'll allow it, I'd like to honor you properly. Hale shook his head. No ceremonies. No microphones. He looked around at the humbled crowd. Just remember that service doesn't end when the uniform comes off. Respect everyone who carried the weight before you, no matter what they look like now. And with that, he turned toward the exit. He didn't wait for applause. He didn't look back. He simply walked into the night, the hall's light fading behind him. Hours later, after the event had ended, base staff gathered quietly at the memorial wall. The Admiral supervised personally as a small brass plate was installed beneath the Task Force Valor exhibit. Commander Jonathan Iron Hand Hale. His courage lives on. No fanfare. No speeches. Just a plaque. Simple, sincere, eternal. In the days that followed, young airmen retold the story in hushed, reverent voices. New recruits heard it during their first week on base. None would forget the lesson. Respect is not worn on the body. It's carried in the soul. CTW. Like, share, and subscribe for more Veteran Valor stories.